Welcome back to the Man of Mastery podcast, where we're meeting and learning from men and women, thought leaders in personal optimization and elite level life performance.
Don't let excuses hold you back.
Episode 7, Man of Mastery podcast. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Very appropriately, this week we're chatting with Collin Naylor, founder and host of the Dadcast podcast. Collin's on a mission to optimize his day and learn and share ways to be the best possible version of himself as a man, husband, and father. Before we jump in, I'd like to say thanks again for all the reviews, the ratings, the help, support, comments. I really super appreciate it. Please keep them coming. This week's iTunes review of the week comes from Regency Wiz, who says, best podcast I've ever listened to. Okay, I happen to know that one came from my own son, but you'll have to forgive me. It's Father's Day week, so thanks, buddy. Okay, let's get yours up there next. Go over to manofmastery.com/iTunes to link to iTunes, hit subscribe, and leave us a review. Let's get into episode 7 with Mr. Collin Naylor of the Dadcast. So welcome back, everybody. Got another great show this week. We've been talking a lot lately about mind and body. Going to switch it up a little bit today and get back to another domain that I call world and community. And if you really narrow that down to the nuclear level, we're talking about family and we're talking about parenthood. So I'm excited and I'm pleased to have on today Collin Naylor, host, creator, and founder of another podcast called the Dadcast. Collin, welcome.
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
It's going great, man. Thanks for being here. And before we jump in, hey, congratulations. I know you're relatively new to the podcast realm as well, but you just hit a major milestone, 1,000 downloads for your podcast. That's awesome work. Good stuff. Yeah,
it was pretty awesome. Like I said, it seemed to come on a lot quicker than what I anticipated, but it gets me excited and definitely makes me want to go for that next 1,000.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just a great signal that you're really onto something there, and you've got a really important message, which is why I'm excited to talk to you. And it's taken us a little while to get this thing together, right? Trying to fit myself in between your morning routine, which is ridiculous, and we're going to have to talk about it a little bit. You're a busy working man, and then one of your top priorities here, which is your baby girl. So maybe let's start there. You're a first-time father. Can you just tell me a little bit more about what inspired the Dadcast and what your mission is there?
Yeah. So, like I said, first-time father. My daughter actually just turned 8 months on Monday, and it's flown by, but yeah, it's definitely been quite the learning experience. Lots of fun, lots of frustration, lots of tears. I mean, it's kind of every emotion, and
yeah, right.
And no one can really get you ready for any of that. I mean, you've gone through it. Your kids are a little bit older now, but I'm sure you remember the beginning stages, not knowing what you're doing, and you're in charge of taking care of this human.
Oh yeah. Hey, believe me, it doesn't stop. My son is 11, going on teenage, and it's just that next phase. You got to figure it out.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, what kind of prompted my idea for my podcast and for it is, I live a very, very active lifestyle. My wife and I are always trying to travel, whether it's just out of the state or out of the country, or we love to go camping at the desert or going hiking. We're constantly trying new things. I'm an avid shooter, so I like to go and do like weekend shooting trips and do all this stuff. And so one of our big, I wouldn't say worries, but one of our big, promises we made to ourselves was when we had a baby, we didn't want it to stop us from living our life. And so from the get-go, we've really made the effort to stick to that. And I know we've kind of had talks before, but I mean, my baby at 3 weeks old, we were taking her out to the desert with us and camping for the weekend. And at 6 weeks old, she went to the SEMA car show out in Vegas with us for a week. And so we're constantly just throwing her in the backpack, throwing her in the car, and doing what we would normally do, just taking on a sidekick. And it really seemed to get people's attention seeing us out there with, essentially a newborn at the time. And people just couldn't believe that we're actually doing what we want to do. And for us, it's like, well, it's not that difficult. We just do it. But it kind of dawned on me that a lot of people, and especially a lot of guys, seem to struggle with trying to balance their own personal life and following their goals and passions with being a dad at home. And that's kind of where the premise of my whole podcast started.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, there's the real medical thing for new moms, the postpartum depression, but it seems like a lot of new dads go through something as well, and maybe it's set up by exactly that, some sort of overwhelming self-imposed assumptions about how life needs to be or is going to change, versus you've got to, in addition to the family, and working them into the life that you enjoy.
Yeah. And I think, and I know for me, I take the role of being a dad very serious, and, I'm very proud of being able to provide for my family. But I think that's also our downfall, is we get stuck into this cycle of being so consumed with being the provider, being the protector, that we put 110% into making sure that we always provide. And what ends up happening, and I've seen it with friends of mine and with family members and guys I've run into, is your life gets put on hold, essentially for the next 2 decades, when your kids are going to be about the time of moving out, but you kind of just lose focus on yourself. And that ends up it can either cause resentment, it causes, depression, it can cause a whole lot of things if you're not taking care of yourself first, and using that to also be a better parent, and using that for teaching and family activities and family time and everything else.
Yeah, right. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I think you spun it a little differently than I was thinking, but I'm in tune to that. So really trying to be the best father you can, and maybe taking that too far in the sense of giving up yourself completely, as opposed to being that guy that your daughter or your son needs you to be, and the model that you're going to be, by being happy yourself first, and modeling for them and showing up for them as a father.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of touched on it, is you're no help to anybody if you can't help yourself first. So it's, yep. It does sound a little selfish, but it's really, it is really for the betterment of your entire family. Is, if you're in a place where you're happy and you're following your passions and you're doing the things that your hobbies, your enjoyments in life, that's going to make you a better husband, a better father, better human being all around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that I've heard you say, you were talking about travel, you're talking about even going overseas. And I had shared a story about some folks that we met that have become very good friends. They live in Adelaide, Australia. And we met these guys. They were traveling. We were on a vacation with our son, who was a good bit younger at the time, in Europe. And they were traveling with their son and their daughter, but not just for, the week in Europe or a couple weeks of vacation in the summer. These guys packed the whole family up, rented their house out, and took the 2 kids out of school for more than a year. And they were homeschooling as they took their 2 children around the world, literally. Pretty much every continent, a little bit of everything, and they would just tailor the homeschooling to where they were going to go and what they were going to see.
Yeah, and I mean, and in the grand scheme of things too, math and reading and writing, those are all important. But I mean, really, the life experience, like you're saying, like being able to go somewhere and learn the history of a country and of a people, that in the long run, that's going to help them so much more in life and down the road with careers and meeting people and doing everything else than studying in a classroom for 8 hours a day, whatever do.
Oh yeah. The work part is a little bit of a challenge. I definitely, you got a long flight ahead of you guys. I remember those days, but even though she won't remember necessarily, I think it starts getting them used to the whole routine. And then, they're going to be pictures you look back on. Like I've seen the picture you've put out of, I think you and your daughter at the Glamis sand dunes when she's quite young. And I mean, that's just a classic one that you guys are going to probably have hanging around while she grows up. That is just, I mean, there's so much cool stuff about it. The the dad and daughter time and just sort of the look of joy that seeps out of that picture.
Oh yeah, and that's, and I even touched on that one on my own podcast. Is it's totally selfish for me. Like a lot of these memories are for my own personal enjoyment and my own memories. Because yeah, she's so young she won't remember them. But something about taking her out to the desert and the first time that I was able to put her feet in the sand, like that is such a deep moment in my own life that I'll keep with me. And that's the lifestyle that my wife and I want to live and want to teach, our daughter and our future kids to live is don't let excuses hold you back. It's all these things. I know I've mentioned to you before and in an episode that there was a couple that they had their baby the exact same day that our daughter was born. And, we actually ran into them, I don't know, about 8 or 9 weeks after our daughter was born and said, "Oh, hey, how's it going? How have you guys been doing? What have you been up to?" And no joke, their response was, "Oh, well, this is the first time we left our house."
Oh, no way.
And I mean, and it's one of those, like, my mind almost exploded because I couldn't wrap my head around how for 8 weeks you guys have done nothing. And like, he was off work, she was off work, they had a new baby. I know it's crazy. I mean, we were not sleeping and had all this stuff, but I mean, in 8 weeks' time, we had done 2 desert trips, a trip to Vegas. We had gone, planned to see friends up in Oregon. Like we were just go basically from the time that we were home from the hospital. And then these other people kind of took it and it just didn't do anything. I'm like, wow, that sounds miserable.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's just one of the really cool and important things you're doing with your podcast is maybe, maybe people just haven't really thought about a different approach. And if they haven't, then you're opening up another perspective, something to consider. Maybe it's not right for everybody, but, kind of challenge the assumptions and see if there's something there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I definitely have very little of anything figured out being a new dad, but these are all just observations I've made and comments I've heard from people. And it's been a lot of fun, learning as my daughter gets older and adapting to having to take a kid with us and packing bags and learning, exactly how long we can be out during the day before, she starts to get tired or needs to sleep. So I'm always learning, always trying to push the envelope a little bit more, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, one of the other things I've heard you talk about, and I'll stray a little bit here towards your morning routine, is I know part of that you have built in, and maybe a lot of people would do it on autopilot, but you've become very present and very aware about it. Is that when you get up and you get up very early, and we'll talk about that, is you make a very conscious point of trying not to disturb the family, but giving your wife a kiss and giving your young daughter a kiss before you do hit the road.
Yeah, yeah, and that all kind of started from the time before my daughter was born. And I'll be the first to say I used to have a really bad habit of as soon as I was home from work, I would check out. I mean, physically, mentally, I'd either sit on the couch in front of the TV or I'd pull my phone out and just waste away online. And that was my way of unwinding. But what happened is it started causing, issues between my wife and I because she would try and have a conversation with me and I would be so wrapped up in watching TV or games that I'd have no idea what she said to me. And so she'd end up just going and sitting in the bedroom. And then when I'd come in and ask what's wrong, she'd look at me like I was dumb because I was what's wrong. Like I wasn't even present in a conversation. And so when the time came that our daughter was being born, I had to really push myself to be present, 100% of the time. And it was hard and I definitely failed at times. And, even now, as much as I've improved, I'm definitely still catch myself sometimes checking out a little bit. But yeah, I really want to make a goal of being 100%, there in my daughter's life, my wife's life, and the family life, and being able to enjoy these things and not just wasting away behind a screen of a phone, posting on, social media or recording videos and really trying to take everything with my own eyes and not through a screen.
Right. Yeah. And in fact, I think your latest episode that I caught is really about exactly that, showing up in your own life, showing up 100% for yourself. And really, the context here is for your family, your wife and your daughter.
Yeah. Because again, there's so many little moments that if you're sitting on a phone, and especially today's society, I mean, everybody is connected all the time, and it's really hard to disconnect. Which, being on a podcast and being being so involved in that, it sounds kind of like an oxymoron a little bit, but it's really taken a lot of work to disconnect when I am home and off of my normal daily job. And again, with my daughter growing up, there's so many little moments that if I'm on my phone or watching TV, I'm going to miss them out. She's right on the verge of crawling, and I don't want to miss her taking her first couple, crawls forward, or the first time that she will stand up for, and she actually just finally was able to get to the point where she's sitting up on, she's able to go from her belly to her back to sitting up. And it's all these things that, 8 months ago, I probably would have been on my phone and missed them all.
Yeah, no, that's so admirable, and I mean, so many of us are just walking around, heads down, on the phone, on autopilot, practically bouncing off of walls, or obviously, car accidents, craziness, and in fact,
Oh yeah.
so just a weird tangent. I'll give you a story that a self defense coach friend of mine relayed. So different than the fatherhood thing, but just in terms of awareness. So he teaches a class from time to time on self-defense in sort of like an active shooter sort of scenario. And what he does is he will show up on the morning he's going to teach his class, and you got a bunch of people that have maybe never even met him before, and they're sitting around a lobby, and everybody's got their heads down on the cell phone waiting for this situational awareness class to start. And he walks in with some sort of weapon hanging out of his waistband, like an unloaded pistol or something like that, and he'll just walk around in front of everybody for a few minutes, and then meander into the class and start the class and ask people how many people noticed that a man with a gun just walked right past you, and most of the time it's nobody.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it just goes to show how involved in this little cell phone in our hands that we are all the time.
Yeah, it gets a little bit crazy. I was, you think with parenthood, start thinking about how you can teach by example, but also, what kind of maybe words of wisdom can you come up with to impart? And when I was listening to your show about showing up, it made me remember something I had talked to my son about in sports. And sports is just a great metaphor for life in so many ways. He was at a soccer tryout, and they were running them through paces, and the coaches would kind of rotate from group to group. And I noticed that he would sprint the hardest while the coach was standing there taking notes and observing their particular group at the time. And then when the coach would rotate back to something else and his focus was off my son and his group, I noticed he kind of was like running at 75% speed. So I was talking to him and I said, that really this stuff is about what you do when nobody else is looking. It's about performing 100% of the time, all the time, or for yourself, not for somebody else or because it's when they're watching.
Oh yeah, of course. And that's what is the saying where it's something along the lines of like winners are made when no one else is looking. I mean, and it's so true. And for you to be able to even pick up on that is awesome. Because again, most parents would probably be either on their phone or trying to record something. It's a good part on you of actually being there. And again, being involved with his sports, paying attention, watching him, taking notes, and then being able to help, coach him and teach him and teach him this lifelong lesson about giving your all, no matter who's watching.
Yeah. On the other hand, you never quite know what sinks in, so you'll get to experience some of that with your daughter. You think you've dropped some pearls of wisdom, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, can we get an ice cream on the way home?
Yeah, I know. I'm very excited and very afraid of all that stuff to come.
No doubt. Well, hey, tell me. I don't want to run out of time before I do ask you a couple of these things. So. No disrespect to Mr. Jocko Willink, who is a disciplined madman. I see his Instagram posts where he's up at around 4:30 every day. But Mr. Collin Naylor is up at 3 a.m. every day, getting an hour and a half head start on on that madman. What's that all about? And I really want to know about this this gut health magic drink that you take every morning.
Yeah, yeah. So again, that whole learning curve I was talking about with being a new dad, and time is very precious when you have a baby. It's not about you or the wife anymore. It's all about her. And so, I on a normal day, I'm up and out of the door usually just before 6 a.m. to head to work, and I don't get home until about 4 p.m. every day. And so once I'm home, I take the baby, and that's now my wife's time to go and hit the gym or get her nails done, go, meet up with friends. So I don't have a whole lot of time during the day to be able to get my own personal gym time or, anything like that. And so kind of just out of necessity, I figured, all right, well, the closest gym to me opens at 4 a.m. and that's the earliest opening gym around me. So I'll get up at 3 a.m. so I can get breakfast and get my workout and do all that stuff before I go to work. And that way, when I get home, that's done for the day.
Nice.
And it's those first 3 weeks of doing that sucked. I mean, every morning I would wake up regretting the fact that my alarm was going off at 3 a.m., but it's definitely gotten a little easier. But, I don't know if it'll be a permanent thing, but it, like I said, it started out of necessity is I just needed to make more time. And it got to the point where the gym was finally important enough to me to want to get up at 3 a.m. and get doing that. And with that, one thing that I've been doing, bodybuilding's always been, a passion of mine the last, 6 years or so now. But, the drink that I do in the morning, it is apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, fiber, and powdered greens, basically. And it tastes terrible, and it makes me want to gag every time. But just being in the bodybuilding scene, being into health, I'm always trying to find ways to kind of help keep everything going, keep my body producing and moving and regular. And one of my fitness coaches actually was the one that turned me on to that. And it's basically, I do it first thing before I eat, before I do anything else. I wake up and make that drink. And it kind of helps get my metabolism started. It gets all the good bacteria in my stomach to break down the food that I'm eating. And kind of actually gives me just a boost of energy first thing in the morning. It definitely will wake you up.
Nice.
But I've been doing that one for 3 or 4 years now.
Is there a particular type of fiber, or is there any science to that?
No, I use the Costco brand, like Metamucil fiber.
Okay, right.
It's just basically that one's basically just to try and keep things regular. The biggest one is definitely the powdered greens. You don't want to go cheap. That one, you'll spend a little money on. I use like Amazing Grass. But just something that has all those, vitamins and nutrients that I'll probably miss out during the day because I'm not a fan of eating veggies. So, just trying to do things to help keep those nutrients in my body, keep everything going and try and keep, myself as healthy as I can.
Cool. Yeah. I'll get the proportions of the recipe from you. Throw it on the show notes for this one.
Yeah.
Have you, the early morning workouts are, once you get it rolling, it's so invigorating and such a great start to the day. But I've always had to try to, I don't know, play little tricks for myself, or just find ways to remove barriers or the possible excuses I'm going to come up with. Whether it's laying my clothes out the night before so I don't, suddenly come up with the excuse that I can't find them, or I'm going to wake my wife up finding them. Any little hacks like that you've got to get us all on a good morning routine?
Yeah, you actually named one of the biggest ones is doing everything the night before. So I set out my work clothes the night before. I set out my gym clothes the night before. I pack all my lunches for the day. I pretty much do everything the night before I go to bed. So that way, when I wake up, I can do as little thinking as possible to get out the door. I wake up, I get to walk out to the kitchen. My gym clothes are laid out, so I can put those on. My work clothes and everything are already in my gym bag, so that way I can grab that and head to my truck, and really try to basically make it as simple as a process in the morning. That way I get up, I'll do my drink, I make some breakfast, and then I'm out the door, and everything's done. I don't have to pack lunches, I don't have to grab clothes, I don't have to make a lot of noise in the house and wake the baby. So, and then like I said in my episode 2, is the last things I do before I walk out the doors. I'll go give my wife a kiss, give my baby a kiss, and then I'm off for the day, and I'll see him when I get home in the afternoon.
Yeah, what a great start to the day. And some people, and I've tried this myself, I really like it, will do something in the morning in terms of some breathing exercises or some meditation or something just to keep the head clear or get the head clear for the day. I don't know if you've talked about doing any of that, but back to your point about cell phones, I think you've also baked a cell phone moratorium into your morning routine, probably for exactly that, kind of your mental state and your focus for that workout.
Yeah, definitely. And that one, I mean, there have been so many studies, especially lately, to prove, how much a cell phone affects us mentally in a negative way. Um, and a big one is, and for all your listeners too, is next time you wake up first thing in the morning, really pay attention. What's the first thing most people do is they're going to reach over, grab their phone, and either hop online or hop on Instagram. And what I noticed is, not even for any particular reason, but it would start to get in my mind almost into an upset mood, like a frustrated mood first thing. And I can't remember who it was that I was listening to. Um, Might have been like Ed Milet, maybe even, or one of those guys, Andy Frisella. But they're talking about how they don't pull their phone out for a half hour in the morning, and so for the first half hour, it's like it's quiet time. And so for me, it just kind of works out of, well, for the first 2.5 hours, I'm getting up, leaving my house, working out. So there's really no need to pull my phone out. So I just kind of said, all right, well, I won't pull my phone out until after I'm done with my workout. And it's kind of like the breathing exercise, but that one, it helps keep my mind clear. It doesn't put any kind of negative emotions in my mind. I'm not worried about what's going on Instagram. I'm not worried about what's going on in the news. Like, I don't even turn the TV on in the morning. And I try and just kind of keep it quiet and give myself that time to just think about either what I'm doing for the day or what's going on this week, or maybe what I did yesterday, if there's something good. And so it's really helped me out a lot to try and keep a positive mindset every day of just waking up and waiting to get on the phone until later in the day when I've already had some time to kind of de-stress, get the workout in, get a good sweat going, and then I can get started.
To settle into your day. Yeah, I really like that. And the trap I fall into, and maybe a lot of us do, and I wouldn't doubt that it's by design, is we end up using the cell phone as an alarm clock, and so you've naturally got that thing in your hand by the time you turn the alarm clock off, and then it's sort of just another swipe, and you're sucked in.
Yeah, no, and that one, I mean, it's so easy to do because I definitely, I mean, I still use it as an alarm clock, but and thankfully now I've gotten into the good habit of just, I instinctively will turn the alarm clock off and then set the phone back down.
Right.
And so it's definitely been hard, and I'll still catch myself sometimes on like a Saturday morning if the baby actually allows me to sleep in a little bit later, that I might still be doing that, but I'll kind of catch myself and toss it down real quick and go get my day started and try and make sure even on my days off of work, and because Saturday, Sunday I don't wake up at 3. Those are my days with my family, and those are the days where I get to wake up with the baby and stuff. So that's the schedule I've set up for myself.
Yeah, no, it's good to sleep
But,
until
I'm
4 on
still,
Saturday and Sunday.
yeah, exactly. But I'm still trying to hold myself to that standard of like not pulling the phone out and sticking to the I guess the new kind of life guidelines that I've set for myself.
If you read or listen to any Ben Greenfield, he is super big on sleep and all the benefits of sleep, recovery, muscle building, cortisol levels, all that good stuff. And a big part of his is around EMF, and specifically with cell phones. Making sure. I mean, ideally they'd probably just be off and somewhere else, but definitely cell phone signal off, Wi-Fi signal off, which to some degree that I've tried to do, not only for the sleep element, but just add another couple barriers in the morning, so that even if I pick it up to turn the alarm off, I got to go through a few more steps to even have any content on the phone, and so I'm trying to use that
No,
to keep it off, if you will.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's perfect. Any kind of little hack that you can use to give yourself an extra edge, they all help in the long run. You know, you said you'll set clothes out the night before, or turn your Wi-Fi signal off and all that kind of stuff. It's all there to help you and try and get you set on the right foot.
Build the right routine. Awesome. Well, tell me about the logo for the Dadcast, and you got some incredible looking merch, shirts, and other stuff coming out.
Yeah. So, ultimately, and same thing, with you and your podcast, ultimately the whole point of the podcast is what would I want to hear? What's something that I would want? And, and so with starting the podcast, again, the whole viewpoint of the podcast is coming from me learning things as a dad and just trying to get other guys' viewpoints, other, fathers' viewpoints and people. And so, and putting out a show that I would enjoy listening to, and hopefully, other people will catch on and enjoy too. But with the logo, it's just a representation of me. I mean, I'm a bearded, bald dude. So when it came with the logo, it was easy to come up with that one. I do tend to look a little on the rougher side. I'm tattooed up, again, beard, bald, kind of a bigger guy, into the bodybuilding. So, skulls and everything are definitely part of my personality, but I don't take life too serious. And that's why I end up throwing a pacifier in the skull's mouth. And so I wanted to keep something that was an extension of me, but also, something to kind of grab people's attention. They're going to see this skull with a beard and a cap on, but then there's a red pacifier sticking in its mouth. So, that was just, it's just something that kind of represented me that I got a little kick out of, and something that that I would like and be able to put on, some shirts or a hat and then wear around town.
Yeah, man, I love the artwork. It's great. So where can we find the shirts and the merchandise, and where is the best place to tune into the Dadcast and find out more about Collin Naylor and the Dadcast?
Yeah. So the shirts and merchandise are actually a very new product that I've been working on. So they're actually, right before you and I got on the phone, I was talking with the guy that's going to be printing up all the shirts and getting the finalized set on that. So, yeah, definitely. If you check out the Dadcast Instagram page or the Facebook page, which those are they're at the Dadcast Official. I'll definitely be putting up links on where you can find the shirts once those are live. And you can also DM me from there, and I can do special orders for you for the shirts. But then the podcast is also on, it's on iTunes, it's on Stitcher, on Google Play. So, any of the major platforms that people use, the Dadcast is on there, and you can hit it up and I'll link all of the other sites on there, kind of keep everybody up to date with t-shirts. And once I actually hit that 1,000 download mark, we're getting ready to launch a giveaway for the podcast and for the listeners. So that's kind of the next big thing that I'll have going on for the show. Okay,
perfect. I didn't mean to jump the gun on the merchandise, but that's a good little teaser and a good promo.
No, it's perfect. I'm glad you're out there saying it, because now it's going to hold me up to actually following through with everything. So
there you go. Now it's a commitment. Well, I will definitely put links to the Instagram and Facebook in the show notes, as well as the podcast. Looking forward to more good stuff. I've listened to the 10 episodes so far. I love it and can't wait for more.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm definitely excited to watch your podcast grow as well. I know you're just getting into it and getting the episodes on there, but I like the direction everything's going. I like the people you've had on so far, and looking forward to more.
Yeah, thanks. No, really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time tonight. And thanks again, Collin Naylor, Dadcast. That was a lot of fun getting to talk to Collin and know him a bit. He's a really modest guy. He's a self-made businessman, stays extremely busy, pretty serious weightlifter, and somehow he finds time to pack all this in, continually works on the self-improvement front, and is so serious about being a great dad and having fun with their new daughter. For show notes and a link to Collin's giveaway and merchandise, head over to manofmastery.com/007 for this episode. Also, while you're there, hit manofmastery.com/iTunes to subscribe and rate the podcast. Okay, guys, that's it for today. See you next week. I'm really excited. We've got another guest coming up that I've been waiting to talk to for quite a while. He's a super deep, intelligent, and insightful and dynamic individual. I think you're really going to like that one as well. See you next week.